What's up, y'all? Justin Morgan here. This is my training, of course, from this past week. It was a Bulgarian style training week, or I guess you'd say Bulgarian light. I'm not sure all these terms people come up with, but the whole week was basically working up to max snatch and either doing max clean and jerk followed by lower body strength work like squats, front squats, or deadlifts. And I didn't go too heavy in the squats. I did like 3 sets of 3 at 405 pounds, or that's like 182 kilos, I think. And then I did deadlift up to 225 kilos or 495 pounds one day. I had done that in the squat, so I just figured I'd try to replicate it in the deadlift as well, just to keep my deadlift similar to my squat. But then the big thing, I also did some clean and push press as a variation on a couple days instead of max clean and jerk. But the big thing was that my technique definitely made some huge improvements this week. I think by the end of the week, I was so beat up and torn down that it was difficult for me to kind of maintain this. I know like other coaches that kind of advocate this type of training regularly, like John Bros. I've used it in the past. I've actually made videos about it, and it's used for like direct strength and power lifts, like squatting, and it's been very effective for me in those times for short periods. It's not proven for myself to be a very good long-term training system. I think I've recently talked to people in the comments section about this, and I've made videos about it in the past discussing the whole thing as well, that it is not a very good system of training for me, meaning that I make a lot of improvements over a 3 to 6 week period of time, and then I don't seem, at least in like the squat and the power lifts, to continue to progress well after that. But in this case, I only did it for 1 week. It was in preparation for a competition that I will be doing next Saturday. So this coming week, I will be kind of tapering down. Like I'll probably work up to 90% on Monday in just the snatch and the clean and jerk, and that will be pretty heavy. And then following that, in the days to come, I'll just drop 10% each day, and I'll do probably very little strength work. I'm also looking at there's Kendrick Ferris, the Olympic weightlifter, not gold medalist, but the Olympian representative for the United States for the past 3 Olympics, I think, in a row, has there's the Kyle Pierce, which is his coach at Louisiana State University. He had a training program that was basically Kendrick's template for training up through. He might still use it, I'm not sure, but he basically used that from the start of his career through most of his lifting career. And the last week of it, it does have you still doing strength work, like you do a max snatch pull and a max clean pull on the second day, so I might do some stuff like that instead. But the big things that I saw in improvements in my lifts this week were the actual pull, which really started to take shape in the very last day that I lifted, so I'll be kind of working out the technique on that. I've been working through some technique changes and experimenting with different things in my jerk, and that you can kind of see that it looks sloppy and uncontrolled. I don't think that what I'm doing right now is a very good move for me. It doesn't seem to show improvements. In the past, I've spent a lot of time working on things over time and ended up just wasting my time. Like when I tried to switch to the sumo deadlift, I thought that, if I spent enough weeks or enough time, enough attempts at improving that it would eventually be stronger. And it did get stronger, and I did get better at it, but it was never able to even come close to matching my conventional deadlift. So it just became a good indicator that it really wasn't a very good position for me. I wasn't stronger in that position with my specific body dimensions. Whereas for a lot of people, they are much stronger when they switch to sumo if they've spent enough time working on it. But for me, I feel like I can usually tell right away that either this was a good move or this was not a good move. So one area that I think I really need to work on is getting deeper in my push jerk, or when I'm dropping under the bar. Usually I kind of I'm able to drive the bar pretty high in the air, and then I don't have to drop down very far under it. And I will probably keep doing that. I don't want to not be good at driving the bar high in order to get under it, but I also want to be able to drop deeper and deeper into maybe a full squat jerk as I continue to get stronger and add more weight to my clean and jerk. But the big things that I changed in my pull was that I've struggled with this idea of sweeping the bar into the hips, staying over the bar, and as it comes up above your knee, you really bring it back over your center of gravity before you really begin to drive through with your hips over it. And so I've done this, and I think the mistake I've made in the past is that as the bar comes up above my knees and I begin to sweep it back, I've gotten okay at that, but I kept sweeping it back. And then as I went to drive my hips through, I'm still holding the bar in my hips, and it caused me to lose a lot of strength and power in both the snatch and the clean that way. So as I went through this week, and I had so many max effort attempts, or really not necessarily max effort attempts, but I worked up to basically 95 kilos every day. And once I actually caught the snatch in that position, it was very easy to stand up with, because I'm a 500-pound squatter, so standing up with 200 pounds or less than 200, or around 200 pounds in the snatch, or standing up with I think I was working up to 120 kilos in the clean and jerk, so standing up with that, which would be like 264 pounds. I mean, that's pretty easy. I don't struggle with that, but as far as catching it and getting it, being in a good position, and the dynamics of catching snatch and clean and jerk, that's kind of a different story and requires more technical skill. And basically, it requires you to be able to put the bar in a position where you can utilize all that strength that you've built through direct strength movements like squats, front squats, deadlifts, push press, and stuff like that. So I felt like I did a ton of improvement in that, and hopefully this coming week it will result in some noticeable increases in my lifts at the competition. I think at the moment I'm starting to get worn down just because of fatigue and adjusting to kind of higher intensity lifts every day. So in the week coming, I will be dropping out a lot of the strength work and doing a lower percentage of the snatch and the clean and jerk, and hopefully I'll have some huge lifts next Saturday when I compete. The goal is to get at least above 100 kilos in the snatch, and maybe probably do 130 or more kilos in the clean and jerk. Now, those are basically numbers that I did my first 3 months of lifting, and then here I am after a whole year of lifting, and I'm really not any stronger in those lifts than I was then. So, I've had to make a lot of adjustments to technique. I'm still brand new to the sport. And it's just like, that's just kind of how it is. So when I did those numbers, they were kind of fluke things where obviously I was strong enough to pull the bar high enough and get under it, or do whatever it took in the clean and jerk, but I wasn't technically proficient enough to be able to replicate those lifts over and over and over again. So now I feel like I am at a point where I could probably do 100 kilos or more. Hopefully I could do a lot more than 100 kilos in the snatch, and a lot more than I've done previously in the clean and jerk as well, because my strength by percentages should be much stronger than I am. But it's like any other sport. It requires skill, proficiency, and for you to practice the sport ongoing. So I'm going to do this competition next week, and then there will be 11 weeks between that time and between the Ohio State competition that will come up, and then hopefully I'll be making continued progress between now and then as well. So That is the goal, is to get above 100 kilos in the snatch and above 130 kilos in the clean and jerk for next week's competition, or at least hit those as my third attempts. And then the next 11 weeks, it's difficult to say since I have, definite things to work on. I'll be definitely working on my jerks a lot more than I have in the past. So that's it, guys. That's the end of the video, so I won't keep you any further. But if you like the video, remember to hit like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and if you have any questions or comments or whatever, just comment in the section below. So thanks, guys. I'll talk to you in the next video.